Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more History Matters, and you know what? In a Cyprus mood a little bit. We'll see what the comments look like between Greeks and if there are any Greeks and Turks in the comments. Um, but I felt like we didn't really get a proper enough explanation for the lingering divide of Cyprus with the Kings and Generals video, so I'm expecting here History Matters will kind of um help answer some of the things that I had like wanting to hear more about at the end of their video. So yeah. But before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. Would love to join the Discord. Follow me over at Twitch, and please do go check out the two gaming channels here on YouTube. One is for the stream VODs, and then the other is for edited content. Yabba dabba doo. Yapping done. Let's dive in.
Countries and being split into two. Name a more iconic duo. And whilst
Yeah.
Germany, Ireland and Korea are the most often discussed, another country with such a divide is Cyprus, which since the 1970s has been divided into two parts, or three if you count those that still belong to Britain. In
Yeah.
the south sits the Republic of Cyprus, recognised by everyone, and in the north lies the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is recognised only by Turkey. And this state of affairs raises an obvious question. What caused this to happen? Why is Cyprus divided? So, before Cyprus was split, it was a British colony which they had acquired from the Ottomans in 1878. And many of those living there were Greek Cypriots, most of whom wished to unify with Greece in a process known as a gnosis. However, that's not how empire works, and the British opted to ignore them because Cyprus's position was far too valuable to them. Many decades later, like most British colonies in the wake of the Second World War, Cyprus and its people
Oh, I just realized something. I misheard in the Kings and Generals video.
opted to ignore them because Cyprus's position was far too valuable to them. Many decades
They said 1960, not 1916. Oh, that's bad. And I'm realizing this in a separate video, not in the comment section on the Cypress video is gonna roast the fuck out of me for mishearing. Oh boy. And you know what? They sound very similar when a British person speaks, so in my defense, blame the British. Just blame the British for everything. It tends to be a very good excuse.
later, like most British colonies in the wake of the Second World War, Cyprus and its people pushed for independence. In the mid-1950s, Greek Cypriots began an armed campaign which wanted to end British rule there and unify the island with Greece. Of course, the British were happy to accept these demands, and just kidding, they teamed up with the Turkish Cypriots to fight back and in the end settled
Oh, we did not hear about that one.
on giving Cyprus its independence. And Britain preferred an independent Cyprus that wasn't a part of Greece, since it wanted military bases there as a forward base for the Middle East. Cyprus, as a small new nation, could be coerced into agreeing to this in return for the end of British rule, whereas Greece was a much larger established country that would be able to resist. After the British had left the island, well, mostly, tensions rose between the Greek and Turkish population there. One of the conditions of Cypriot independence was that the Turkish minority
Be excellent to each other. 2. Government jobs for Turkish Cypriots. 3. No joining other countries.
minorities' rights would be respected. And also, it was agreed that no one would push for a union with either Greece or Turkey, nor try to partition the island. And Greece, Turkey and Britain all agreed to uphold this status. Despite the agreement, many Greek Cypriots, including President Makarios, felt that the Turkish were overrepresented and so wanted that changed. Shockingly, the Turkish Cypriots didn't want this, and so, a decade of impasse. In 1974, feeling that Makarios wasn't doing enough, a group of Enosis-backing Cypriots aided by the dictatorship in Greece launched a coup. Makarios fled and Nikos Samson was placed in charge and made it clear that he was going to unify Cyprus with Greece. And now the Turkish government was concerned for the welfare of Turkish Cypriots who were subject to growing violence and so asked Britain to help them intervene. And the British said no. And for this they had two reasons. The first was that they were too busy being poor, and the second was that those in government above all else wanted to keep their military bases, and thus by not picking a side it was hoped that they could leverage the fact that they didn't oppose the eventual winners to keep their territory on Cyprus. As a result, Turkey opted to proceed alone. Turkish troops landed here and they very quickly and easily pushed Greek Cypriot forces back across the island. This was condemned by the United States, who didn't want two NATO members going to war and breaking the alliance, but generally most countries were sympathetic.
World backs Turkish accent. They cool, says Greg from Lancaster. Yeah, poll. Most Brits back Turks. An international poll undertaken over the past week has confirmed that the vast majority of Brits and continental Europeans back the Turkish action in Cyprus. Okay, that's actually surprised me. I didn't think actually the Turkish action would have been as well liked. Mainly, maybe that is my. I don't know. I kind of always picture the anti-Islamic rhetoric to have been a thing well before 9/11, and to an extent that is true. There is, but so I kind of thought that would carry over to this place, especially with Western people's kind of um cultural origins being like Greek in the sense of democracy, the concept of democracy, very much attributed to the Greeks. You would think that they would, but no, surprisingly, positively surprised that the world seems to be supporting the people that are being abused, being oppressed. That's nice. Anyways, concerns over the welfare of Turkish Cypriots and the uniformed blokes who are running Greece looking a little bit fascisty are what has pushed public opinion in Turkey's favor. Okay. The Turkish military landed in Cyprus and handily defeated the defenders in what a military sources called laughable were it not for all of the dying. The humiliation and fears over a war with Turkey killed the Greek junta, hopefully leading to the return of democracy to Greece. Unless they vote for communists, in which case, bring those military dictators back. Please stop trying to impeach me, please, Nixon. After what can politely be called a rough time for the president, Richard Nixon, 61, male, Washington, has pled for calm and for Congress not to prosecute him for his obvious criminal activity. Guys, I really do not want to suffer the consequences of my actions. I cannot do his voice. I used to be able to do his voice. I can't do it anymore, the president said in a press conference earlier today. The president also took the time to confirm he had no intention of resigning in the short term and promised to serve until at least August the 10th. Quote me on that. This is likely because, like most politicians, reality is something Nixon wishes to ignore. Another potential reason is the president's dislike of the vice president, who he hasn't forgiven for not serving in World War I. Baby was a damn coward, said Mr. Nixon. Well, Nixon didn't even serve in World War I, did he? Is Nixon that old? No, because this would have been 74, and he was 61. So no, he couldn't have served in, what? Talking about World War II? I'm confused. Like disco? Straight to hell, says Archbishop. The Archbishop of York has launched a scathing attack against the great institution of disco music. You can groove in hell with Satan and communists, His Grace said when asked for his thoughts on today's issues. Need to break your ankle? Try platform boots, the most timeless of fashions. I love that.
Pathetic to the Turkish. All of this embarrassed the military government in Greece, and fears over all-out war led to the collapse of the regime there. Whilst the Greeks were busy becoming a democracy again, the Turkish opted to push even further across Cyprus. At this point, the rest of the world turned against Turkey, since this was now seen as little more than territorial expansion. As such, the Turkish, British and Greek governments met to end hostilities, and a ceasefire was agreed. The Turkish military stayed in the lands that it had taken, and the United Nations would construct a demilitarized zone running across the island. And it was hoped that with the Greek-backed coup over and the violence diminishing, Turkey would leave, but fun fact, no. Instead, the Turkish created the Turkish Cypriot administration, which would run the territory the Turkish had captured. And in the wake of the creation of this administration, many Greek Cypriots were forced out of their homes and cleared from the north. And in the south, many Turkish Cypriots were also made unwelcome and forced to head north. And in 1983, the Turkish Cypriot government there made a unilateral declaration of independence, which was condemned by everybody except for Turkey, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And the last two were soon pressured into withdrawing their support, leaving only Turkey supporting the north. But irrespective of international support, the island still remains divided to this day. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching.
Okay. I think why is Cyprus divided? And I definitely think they answered that question. Of course, right? I kind of feel like they handled the Cyprus crisis of '74 a tad bit better. Now, of course, Kings and Generals is a much more military-focused channel, and as I've said before, I am not a military historian. It is not my cup of tea. It's not something I care about. And so that is partial why I had some issues with that video. Because it's just stuff that I'm not interested in. That to me feel like fluff and unnecessary information. But I definitely feel like History Matters here was able to fit in a lot more contextual information, especially like the reactions of the world as opposed to the Kings and Generals video, which I definitely like that sort of style here from History Matters a whole lot more than the other style. Personal preference. People can have opinions, internet. Don't bitch. I don't want to hear any bitching in the Actually, no, feel free to bitch in the comments. It drives engagement and leads to more people seeing my videos. So please do bitch. Speaking of which, I should probably bitch about From Software more, because if I bitch a lot about From Software, then those videos do get a lot of views. So maybe I start being fake to get views. Anyways, that is why Cyprus divided, with a unrelated tangent at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.